Hello and welcome to At the 55, your home for OUA football. Me and Tom are back on the mics, doing what we love to do, sharing great stories about all things and the people who make football in our awesome little country and our little province here in Ontario so special. Tom, this guest is someone that you've had the pleasure of knowing for a bit, and you had the pleasure of interviewing recently on another platform of ours. So I'll throw it to you, but not before I say, Tom, how the heck are you doing, my friend?
I'm always doing well, my friend. And yes, I had the streamed privilege to talk to our special guest here at the East West Bowl. And now for those of you who don't know, the new assistant wide receiver coach for the Waterloo Warriors, Coach Taylor MacIntyre joins us here. Coach, how are you doing today?
Hi, Tom. Hi, Zach. Wow, thanks so much for that intro. I'm doing great, thanks. Thanks so much for having me.
No problem. It's our pleasure.
Well, Taylor, there's so many, as we're kind of saying in the pre-recording conversation, the conversation just happens. We'll go where it goes, and so it's like, do we start with the new exciting stuff? Do we go back to the beginning? And you're sitting there, you're wearing that brilliant Warriors yellow. And so I think we have to start with the here and the now with you taking on your role with Waterloo. Talk to us a little bit about this process. Tom and I have all the love in the world for Coach Bertoya and what he's been building there. Obviously, huge fans of the facilities, everything they've been doing to promote the game, and the community in Waterloo is one that I'm a big fan of from my experiences at the university level, summer football level, and everything like that. Talk to us a little bit about this move for you, what it's meant in the early throws.
Yeah, thanks. I'm just so grateful for the opportunity from Coach Bertoya, Coach Conway, Coach McNeil. They've been so supportive. And, when this opportunity came up, it was something that I really was interested in looking into. I live here locally. I'm in Cambridge, so not too far. I'm in Waterloo Region. For my day job, I'm the manager of sport hosting at Explore Waterloo Region. So I bring sporting events to the region. So I'm here locally anyway. My office is 10 minutes away from Warrior Field. So really, it was a big fit for my lifestyle at this point where I'm at. It was a great opportunity for me to jump into a new role, to be able to work one-on-one with Coach Rashawn Degelman and the receiver group. I'm really excited to work with this new group of student athletes and see how I can help them out with their game. And, my motto is just to help them get better every single day. So I'm really excited for the opportunity. In the future, we might look at bringing, a similar women's coaching apprenticeship program to Waterloo as well. There's been some discussion about that. And, that's one thing Coach Bertoya and Coach Conway are just so interested and really committed to growing the women's game as well, and women in football. So that's something that I think is an exciting opportunity to be a part of at U Waterloo.
One of the things that I have found out very quickly after having some conversations between the two of us here is that you are very quick to talk about how incredible this entire program is, this entire opportunity is for women across the country here. But we do want to specifically talk about you as well, because this is outstanding here. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as I know, obviously we've got outstanding female coaches across OUA and across the country here. But this is the first that I know of, at least, where a female coach has actually been approached by another school to come over to their school rather than just, hey, you want to come out for our program? Do you want to apply for this? You were poached. You got poached to Waterloo. Don't downplay that at all.
Thanks, Tom. Yeah. As far as I know, I believe that's the situation. Obviously, Coach Nadia from Carleton deserved the opportunity to go to the Ottawa Red Blacks and earned that opportunity, of course. And Coach Aaron Craig was with SMU, is now with the Edmonton Elks. So there's definitely other female coaches around Canada that have moved on to the next level. But in terms of the OUA, I started with MAC in 2021. I believe I am the first one to make a move within the OUA.
Outstanding.
Yeah, when you bring up Mac in 21, and obviously that's part of the coaching apprentice program that they were putting in there. And so I guess just piggybacking off that, and mentioning Carlton by proxy of mentioning Coach Nadia, Coach Grant obviously at the helm. in Carleton. What was that experience like for you? We've had him on the show. We're both fans of what he's building there in Carleton, and just as a football person in Canada. What was that experience working with him in the MAC program? And just, he's seemingly, by all accounts, just a really good dude.
Yes, Coach Grant's amazing. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for him and Coach Potasic. So I really owe everything to them. Having the opportunity to work with Coach Grant, it was just a whole new world for me, right? Coming into this opportunity in the OUA, seeing his energy, seeing his passion for the game, how he builds the relationships with the athletes. It was just, I had never seen or never thought that it would be like that. So it's just really cool to, to have worked with Coach Grant, and he's still one of my mentors. I talk to him regularly. So he was aware that I had this opportunity, and he was someone that I called to, get his thoughts, get his advice. And, it was really important to me that, I talked to my mentors and those that had supported me since day one and say, hey, I have this opportunity. Mac's been my home, and I'm so grateful for everything they've given me. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for McMaster, but I think it was just time to make that move for my coaching career, but also for my lifestyle here in Waterloo region.
Mm-hmm. And something else I wanted to dive into as well, while we're still on the topic of McMaster, is that you come in as well with Amanda Ruler. So it's the two of you who are in there together. You're coaching receivers, she's coaching running backs in that regard. What was that like coming into this at, as far as I know, one of the first two females to be in the OUA coaching in this setting here, and to have somebody else in Amanda, so that you're not just the only female in the room. And even past that, when you have somebody with like Amanda, what's the vibe like when you first walk into the coaches' locker room where it's all the other coaches? Is there any apprehension there, or was it a full welcoming environment from day one?
Yeah, so first of all, I have to give credit to Coach Samara, who was at Carleton. He hired Nadia as the first female coach in the OUA, and that was back, I think, in May 2021, so just before Ruler and I were hired at Max. So Nadia, again, was number one, and I always make sure she gets that credit deservingly so. And then moving on, with Rules, it was awesome. She's a ball of energy, so it was just great. And that's one thing that Coach Grant said, when you create a women's coaching apprenticeship program, it was super important to have two female coaches on staff. There's things or adjustments, things that we go through, that it was so helpful to have another female coach in the room to get each other's advice or thoughts or feelings about something that was going on. It was really great how McMaster set it up, and that all of the coaches and the athletes and staff knew that Coach Ruler and I would be coming on the coaching staff. So it wasn't a surprise to anyone. So they were supportive from day one. That really helped our transition as well. Coming into the coach's room and in working with the student athletes, everyone was automatically accepting. They knew that we were there to do our job and to help them get better.
And I have to imagine too, as you were saying, coming in with another female coach, it perhaps mitigates that feeling of tokenism, that it's like, this isn't just bringing someone into checking boxes. It's, these are, and as Tom had highlighted, you getting poached to Waterloo, moves that are substantiating that, again, there are many interpretations people can have that are much more negative of the reality of it. I imagine that's been helpful in it. But, you talk about how, with you being in the Cambridge area, the Waterloo move for a number of reasons is helpful. And, I was living out in London for a little bit, and I got a good sense of Cambridge football, right? Waterloo, obviously, with, Laurier and Waterloo being there, people know about it. But Cambridge, people know about Jacob Hespler, they know about the Lions, but I feel like this is the first time actually kind of, if I may, kind of moving a little bit, not away from you, because Cambridge football is what you bleed. But can you give us a little bit of insight into what makes this pretty small community, but right in the heart of Southwest Ontario, such a powerhouse when you look at the Lions in the OSFL, when you look at Hespler in the high school ranks? What is it that makes Cambridge such a special place for football?
Yeah, I had to give a shout out to my U16 AAA Cambridge Lions guys. So I'm coaching receivers and special teams coordinator there this summer. So it's just exactly what you said. It's a powerhouse for football. We're right in the center of Ontario, southwestern Ontario, but we live, breathe, eat football. And it's just awesome being a part of, that community. Anywhere I go, I'm wearing my Lion stuff or my U Waterloo stuff, and I get approached by people or high fives, whatever it may be. This is a football community, and it's just really special. Jacob Hespler has been a leader in football in Cambridge for many, many years. And so to be able to practice and use their facilities multiple times a week has been really great. And it's awesome to see the young athletes come out. Some of them are relatively new in their football journeys at U16. And so it's really exciting to show them the potential and share my vision for them as athletes as well.
Mm-hmm. One last question I have about Mac. I'm a Mac alumni. I have to ask. You're coming in 2021. This is the first year that Keegan Hall has taken over the reins from Andreas Dueck. You've got Jackson Cooling, you've got James Priestner, Dima Ignatievic. You've got a very talented receiving room and a young up-and-coming quarterback. Now, obviously, 21 is the COVID year, and there's a whole bunch of craziness that goes around that. But even just being in that receiver room with such outstanding talent, what's your thought process going into that first year, trying to get everybody calmed down with COVID happening and still trying to install or at least enforce Coach Grant's offense within this program?
Yeah, and before I get to that, Tom, I just have to say as well, so Dre, we did convince him to come back. So he was back for a fifth year in my first year. So I did get to work with Dre, which was awesome. But the reason I bring that up is because that culture was set, and I knew it immediately because my first practice, I'm there with Coach Grant and I'm shadowing him with the receivers. And Dre comes up to me and says, "Hey, I'm Dre. It's great to meet you," and shakes my hand in front of all the other athletes. And that was just a statement for me, like QB1's coming up to me and introducing himself. Like that says a lot about, number one, who he is as a person, but number two, the culture of this program. And it was an amazing culture to be a part of for 3 seasons. So I had to say that first. But moving on to the receivers, as you said, such a talented group. I started with Chase Arsenault, who got drafted to the Argos, right? Michael Bazo was there, Xander Chichinski, who I ended up, working with as a coach the last 2 seasons. So just a great group of guys. And then you talk it, to the younger guys that were moving up, Keegan Hall, Jackson Cooling, James Priestner, just so many, Dima as well, of course, so many guys coming up, just a really talented group and guys that just wanted to work on their craft. They were passionate about lifting weights. They were passionate about nutrition. They were passionate about getting better on the field and making those plays. They were passionate about setting up their role to have better effectiveness in the concept, right? Like making sure they're doing their job properly so that we can execute. That was a huge push as well. So being able to work with the receivers, and they were honestly the best. They were so supportive of me. I was honest and said, "Hey guys, I obviously didn't practice or play at this level, but I'm here to make you better. However that is for you, whether it's the organization, watching film one-on-one with you, if it's I'm looking at a specific route, how you're running that against a certain coverage, right? Like that's something I want to help with." So I was really open and, for the 3 seasons, let me know how I can help you get better every day. It was a really special group. And, when I made the decision to move on to Waterloo, I sent them each a personalized text message letting them know I wanted them to hear it from me. I think Coach P gave them the heads up, but I wanted them to hear it from me, where I was going and kind of the why behind it, just in terms of it's a great opportunity for me. I've been at Mac 3 years. Selfishly, it's an opportunity for me to learn a new offensive system, learn from new coaches, at U Waterloo, and from new student athletes as well. And it was nothing but support, and I know I'll keep in touch with those guys. And the thing I left with them with, and Coach Grant taught me this, is, regardless of what happens, knowing that I'm at a new school, they're staying at Mac, whatever it is, I'm a part of their journey. And if they need anything, I'm always going to be there for them. So I let them know, hey, reach out if there's anything, life or football. If there's anything I can do to help, don't hesitate to call or text.
I love that Dewey shout out in there. Such a great dude and a great time, great legacy from Mac. Kind of bridging those experiences because, of course, Tom had the pleasure of speaking with you not too long ago with East West, but you talk about working with a high caliber receiving crew as you had at Mac. No doubt, obviously, when it comes to East West, that's a whole other animal. And obviously, I know you've talked on it, but you go over those ideas of working with players with so much skill and they come from different programs, and how can they find success in certain concepts against certain schemes? What was really your mindset going into East West in terms of how can I have the biggest impact in, albeit a short period of time, with players coming from different systems who read things at a little different off the snap and when they read coverages? What was your mindset going in, and what was, say, your biggest takeaway when it was all said and done?
Yeah, I was really just looking to see again how I could help them. Each athlete obviously learns and adapts their game in different ways. So I just said, guys, however I can help, again, whether that's going through the playbook together, whether that's looking at specific routes, I just put that offer out there. The first couple days, I did have guys coming up to me because I would carry the playbook with me. And so even during practice, they knew I had the plays. So if there were any specific questions, if we're seeing this coverage or, how should I adapt my routes? I had the playbook right there and I was able to help them. I didn't want to see them go out for a rep and not maximize that rep. So I wanted them to be confident and comfortable with what they were running, what their alignment assignment was, and then just, going at 110%, focusing on the execution piece. So that was kind of my thing. I just tried to help wherever I could. And again, looked for those little technical details. Like Coach Stevenson Bone was always obviously looking at the concept as a whole. For me, I was looking at those details, those small little things, being detail oriented. If it was something as simple as they're doing a hook, hey, add in a drop step, right? Get north south as fast as possible, right? Just these little things that they probably know, but I'm just bringing it back to their attention. And I think the biggest thing was, it was like, guys, whatever you've been doing to this point has led you here. So obviously you've been successful in that. So again, just giving them that confidence that, hey, you guys are here for a reason. Just go ball out, go have fun, show Canada and the CFL scouts what you can do.
Mm-hmm. And sticking with that same vein, going into the East West Bowl, obviously you're at Waterloo for a reason here, but at East West, you're also at Waterloo, seeing the facilities there, getting a chance. Your offensive coordinator is Brendan Conway, who will be your offensive coordinator. You have a lot of time to speak with Bertoya and McNeil. All those guys are right there. So what was that experience like, first getting a little taste of what Coach Conway is like? Certainly the playbook is very rudimentary, just to make sure that they can get everybody in there as quickly as possible. I think he said there was only like 10 plays total, and there's a few different formations to get there. But even just interacting with Coach Conway, what was that like for the first time? And did that influence your decision to ultimately accept the role at Waterloo?
Yeah, I think it did a little bit. Coach Conway was just so supportive from day one. He's the one that invited myself, Coach Kendall, and Coach Carly to the East West. Just reached out and said, hey, there's an opportunity here. Obviously, we want to get female coaches involved. Would you be interested? And right away, the three of us jumped at that opportunity. So Coach Conway's support has been, there since day one. During East West, it was a great opportunity to see, how he connects with the staff, how he coaches up and installs a playbook, right? All these things that I'm looking at, from a co-coach perspective, it was just really great insight into potentially how they run the program at U Waterloo there. And it did give me kind of a day in the life of vision of what it could be like in the fall, I guess. So it was a great experience. Their facilities are world class there, obviously, with the field house, with the new turf, the classrooms. It was just, the facilities were beautiful. And something else that I'd like to add as well is just seeing the culture around that building. Culture is big for me, right? I want to feel like I'm making a difference and having an impact wherever I am, and that I'm helping our program win football games and be successful. So at the end of the day, it was really great to see how Coach Bertoya, Coach Conway, Coach McNeil were hosting, other top programs around the country, and, just seeing how successful the event was. It just really speaks to the team that they have there at U Waterloo.
Now, talking about experiences working with, pretty high level players, going back a little bit now, but you've obviously had opportunities working with the Blue Bombers and the CFL and being able to experience what that camp is like. And on the one hand, I want to ask you what that experience is like, but also just from a coaching standpoint, working at so many different levels, whether it's high school, OSFL, the university level, East West, this kind of all-star amalgamation of all the universities, and then the pro level, and trying to synthesize your own coaching ability when you're working with so many athletes of different abilities and different levels of as Tom was alluding to with East West, keeping things relatively based so the players can learn it simply. How, like in this experience, just your process of soaking in all these different experiences while knowing at the same time you're also trying to then coach these techniques to players where this might be, as you said, a 16-year-old kid who 15, 16-year-old kid who's maybe it's their first time playing versus now I'm working with a player who's coming off of an all-star campaign and a top receiver in all of you sports versus, oh, I'm working with someone who's a professional athlete. How do you just from a coaching standpoint, like what goes through your mind in terms of synthesizing all that information and trying to make it the most palatable for the athlete you work with?
I think for me, it's just living in the moment, and understanding the group of athletes or student athletes or professionals that I'm working with, and really having, my realistic expectations for myself in check. So I'm very aware of what my strengths are as a coach and things that I still need to work on and want to work on. So I think I just play to my strengths in that, if I'm working with, let's say the pros, for example, in Winnipeg, it was great to, again, be able to assist them with the little technical things like a drop step. A lot of the NCAA schools actually don't use a drop step. So in one of the indie sessions, I was coaching them up on how to do a proper drop step. So it's things like that where, again, just looking at the little nuances and the small details, letting Coach Kevin Burgoyne, the receivers coach there, really take over the bigger picture things. And I'm just working on the little details like, hey, your ball security wasn't great there, right? Like high and tight, iron cross, right? Just these little key words to get them, oh yeah, thanks, coach. Okay, got it. Right? Just to help to refocus with those little details. And then I think when I'm working in the OUA, I can draw on some of that professional experience that I've had and where I've been the last 3 years at Mac. Wherever I am, I just try to be like a sponge. I want to learn from the student athletes. I want to see how they're running routes differently. I want to learn from my co-coaches. I want to learn from the coordinators and the head coach. I'm just trying to be a sponge and learn it up, learn everything and add that to my coaching repertoire. And then when I'm coaching high school or JV Lions, for example, it's, letting them know, sharing the vision with them, whether they're, just getting into football or they've been playing for quite a few years now. It's like, hey, here's your strengths. This is the vision I have for you. Like, here's the things we can work on together. And always putting that positive spin on it, and then I think it's just getting into the more technical details once the athlete shows that they're ready for that, right? So I think JV, my first time teaching them the drop step here at U16, so they're 14, 15-year-old guys, teaching them the drop step in grade 9 or 10, that was a new concept for them. So again, the progression drill I had lined up was even to advance at step 1. So I said, okay, guys, no balls right now. Let's get in a track-like stance and let's pivot on our back foot. So I actually had them doing the drop step without any route, without a football, just stationary, right? So really working backwards. But yeah, like I said, wherever I am, just having my coaching strengths in mind, how I can contribute, a lot of communication with whoever's running the series of how I can help, but just keeping that in mind and yeah, trying to help every athlete get better.
Now, we talked about what a whirlwind this past little while has been for you. Certainly going to McMaster in 21 and now East West, CFL, going to Waterloo, also coaching JV in high school. Like you're all over the place in terms of all of the experience that you're gathering here. But I really am interested in seeing how this whole process started. I know from following you on Instagram and following you on social media, your father has been a very big supporter of you and also a big reason in terms of, bringing you out to football games and getting you that exposure at a very young age. What was your process like growing up that led you into being a coach that's had experience at the CFL level and is now going into a new position at Waterloo?
It's pretty surreal when I think back on the journey. When I was a young girl, dad taught me how to throw a football. Dad just finished his 36th year coaching high school football south of London, Ontario. So I definitely got my passion for the game from him. Like I say, taught me how to put my fingers on the laces and bring my arm back and follow through. So that was at a young age. And then he gave me the confidence and the knowledge. We would watch CFL, NFL games, and I said we were watching a Raiders game because he's a Raiders fan. I said, Dad, who's that? Randy Moss. Okay, great. So he became my favorite player. And so a lot of the receiver knowledge that I gained as a young girl came from my dad. And he gave me the confidence, in grade 7 and 8 to be the only girl often to play in gym class or at recess. And I'd get in there and even take reps at quarterback. I had that confidence. I could probably throw a better spiral than the majority of my class at that age. Gave me the confidence also to go out and try out for the junior boys team in grade 9 and 10. And I say junior boys because I was the first female athlete to complete a season at my high school, played in grade 9 and 10, receiver and backup quarterback. And then grade 11 and 12, I looked at my size, 5'2", at that time, probably 110 pounds. And I thought maybe shouldn't play senior. These guys get pretty big at grade 11 and 12. So I started coaching. I gave back to the junior program, coaching the receivers. Now that was back, I graduated from high school in 2008. So there's about 14 years there where I'm just a football fan, and there's nothing wrong with that. But then in 2021, I saw this post on LinkedIn that McMaster was creating a women's coaching apprenticeship program. And it was like, this was made for me. I just applied and I didn't look back after that. So it's been a pretty amazing journey, obviously with McMaster. And then I coached the McMaster women's flag team. I also coached Team Ontario, U18 women over the last 2 seasons as the special teams coordinator and receivers coach, guest camp at Football Ontario camps. I also volunteer at Buffalo Bills flag camps. So I really try and soak up as much as I can, as much football. And like I said, I'm just like a sponge learning from everyone. So, and then obviously in 2022, having the opportunity to be a part of the inaugural cohort for the CFL Women in Football program. That was definitely a highlight, spending 4 weeks in Winnipeg, and just brought all of that back to McMaster. And I think from there, opportunities have really skyrocketed, and I'm grateful for that.
Firstly, shout out to the Rail City. St. Thomas football is real solid, sitting in London's shadow, but, needs to be represented whenever it can be. Taylor, I'm a fan of the turn of phrase that it's hard to be what you cannot see, right? And so obviously for a young woman coming up in football, there's, for yourself growing up, probably fewer women in positions like that you occupy now. And as we've highlighted, there's now a much, relatively speaking, a larger cohort of women in these positions, growing even more so. When you think about now that Taylor MacIntyre playing in her gym class, football and gym class, playing with her dad, whatever it is as a kid, seeing folks like yourself, Coach Nadia, all the great female coaches doing their thing. When you then sort of, if I can get you prognosticate like 10, 15 years, what is that next step where if we're just playing this forward as this progression continues, what's that next big thing you're looking to see in terms of the advancement of women in the game of football?
That's a great question. And I've been asked that a couple of times actually throughout the last couple of years. But, to start back on that conversation, Zach, I was really fortunate in that I did have a female football coach in high school. So Coach Donor was our receiver coach. She coached some DBs as well. So I did grow up having a role model, a female role model in football. So for me, I never had to wonder if I belonged in football, right? Of course, it wasn't always easy with grade 9 and 10 boys telling you to get off the field and I don't belong here, etc. But knowing that Coach Donor was a coach and she was accepted by the coaches, by the athletes, and she could be successful, that was a really big thing for me. And there has been, I guess, up until this point, 11 female coaches in the OUA now. So we continue to build momentum, and more OUA programs are opening up those opportunities. So it's really exciting, and women know that they belong in football, whether it's as an athlete, a coach, strength and conditioning coach, in football ops or administration, as an official, right? There is a role for women in football, and we're starting to see that now, and there's so much support out there. So I think looking forward into 10, 15 years, it's just evolved so much over even the last 3 years. It's so hard to predict that far. I think I would say I would love to have a professional women's league in Canada, 18 plus professional women's team. We do have Team Canada, which is great. We are competing on the international stage, but I think, we obviously have to build the number of female representation, female coaches, etc. in football at the OUA level, at the CFL level. Right now in the CFL, there's 2 female full-time coaches. I think that number definitely has to grow. And I think there's just opportunities. The opportunities are endless. I think, one of the coaches said it best in that, if football is a male prominent sport, you're automatically eliminating half of the population. Well, why can't women be just as successful in football? Right. So I think, yeah, the next couple of years will be monumental, I think, in the direction that women in football and women's football goes. But yeah, I'm really excited. I think there's some great opportunities. And I know Football Ontario here locally in our province is doing a lot of great work as well.
Well, speaking of some of the stuff that Football Ontario has been doing here, certainly, like you said, the more and more that we have engagement from women in a multitude of different sports or multitude of different areas within the sport of football, the larger that this community is going to grow. And Football Ontario just recently announced a senior women's tackle football team. So you're going to be trying out and going for that team. So what is that experience for you? I know you're training for it and may not actually have gotten started yet, but going from that mentality of, you're putting down the clipboard and whistle to put on a set of pads again. How's that process? How are you feeling with that? Are you excited to get going?
Tom, I've already started training. I'm all in, I tell you. So don't worry about that. Yeah, I'm so excited. I was, considering the opportunity, I thought it would be amazing just to coach senior women's and represent Ontario. Obviously, I had the experience coaching the U18 tackle team, and I've always said the last 3 years, that's an opportunity as well that I didn't have when I was younger. Well, now I do. Now I have an opportunity to play tackle football, and I've never played tackle football with other females, right? I've only played tackle football with guys. So I'm really excited for this opportunity. I've already connected the Athletes Garage with Andrew Graham, who's our strength and conditioning coach at Waterloo. So I've hired on the Athletes Garage to get me going, get me in shape. Yeah, I'm just really excited. I don't have a lot of details yet. It was just announced on Instagram that they're putting together, Football Ontario is putting together a committee, a development committee, and then I saw a posting for a head coach. So I'm assuming they're going ahead with it. And, from what I've heard, it will be a similar model to the current U18 structure in that it will be 18 plus women's tackle. There'll be a Team Ontario and then I think 5 other provinces. And then it will all culminate in the national tournament next summer. So, yeah, I'm really excited. Like I said, it was pretty emotional when I decided, okay, I'm all in, let's go for it. I don't want to have any regrets. And my dad always said that too. Don't look back and say, I wish I had it. So this is an opportunity. Like, yeah, I'm in my mid 30s now, but I got to go for it. And if I don't make the team, then that's okay. I've got coaching and I'm just as passionate about coaching as I am playing, but I'm super excited to get the pads back on and to run some routes.
Nolan Caban and Nick Orr are going to be staying back, throwing some extra routes with Coach MacIntyre, getting her ready to go. Let's go.
Coach.
And I haven't really... Yeah. Sorry, I was just going to say, Zach, I haven't really announced that opportunity. So this is the first time I'm really talking about it. But this is great because I'm all about accountability. And now I have the two of you and all of your listeners here to hold me accountable to go for this goal. So I appreciate it.
No, hey, it's awesome that you're allowing us to have the platform for you to announce that. And it's so exciting. Of course, you mentioned Andrew Graham, not only a former teammate of mine, but another St. Thomas shout out there. So again, Rail City, here we go. Last thing I want to ask you about.
Football, let's go.
There we go. Coach, last thing I want to talk to you about is bringing it all the way back to Waterloo football now. We're sitting here in late June and it feels like I'm going to wake up tomorrow and it's going to be training camp. And, I'm getting chills just thinking that OUA football, it feels like it's so close. You're joining a team that is very young, is coming off the Trey Ford era with, a couple of young quarterbacks, some really exciting running backs, a defense that was really impressive at times last year. And I think showed a lot of potential, not necessarily always in the wins loss, but when you watch those games, a lot of folks like Tom and I are watching being like, there's something here. What's the thing you're most excited for going into this into the season, and not to make any predictions, but what is sort of the potential you can see this team reaching?
Yeah, I think honestly the potential is unlimited. Like you said, it's a really young group and a lot of skill there. right? So I'm just excited to work with them, bring in a fresh perspective to the receiver group. I think I'm also going to be assisting on some special teams. So just excited to help out the coaches there. And yeah, just really, really looking forward to the opportunity of bringing in a fresh perspective, kind of being detail oriented, supporting Coach Rashawn, and just getting the guys ready to execute. Last year, obviously, ups and downs like every football team has, but like you guys said, there's a lot of really promising things that we're seeing. And I think it's just helping the guys get better every single day. That's my personal motto. So however I can assist them, but it's a really exciting opportunity, and yeah, I'm grateful to be a part of it. We'll go 1-0 each week is the goal.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Now, when you're taking a look into some of the other atmospheres around the university era in the OUA, and you start looking across the field and you start seeing other female coaches in a lot of these other prominent positions here, because I believe, if I have the stat correct, since 2021, there's been 6 female coaches across the OUA alone. And so
11 now.
11 now.
11.
Outstanding.
Yes.
So when you're looking across the other field, obviously all of your time and energy is put onto the field. You're trying to get your athletes ready to go here. But what's that like now? Certainly in 21, there was Nadia as well, and there was a few other female coaches, but to see that number grow and grow, even in the short few years since that inaugural season, what's that meant to you, especially being a coach, a proud coach in the OUA?
Yeah, it's definitely very special. Right now, if we look at it, 5 of the 11 OUA schools have a female coach on staff. So almost half of the OUA, which is super exciting, figuring this new program of, the Women's Coaching Apprenticeship Program just started in MAC 3 seasons ago, right? So really exciting just to see the growth. I know all of them, so it's really great. They're all my friends. I make sure, I have a pretty good tab on the female coaches in our area in Ontario, and trying to with U Sport as well. But it's just really great being able to connect with them. And again, share our experiences and just the excitement and, the pride that we have for the positions that we're fortunate enough to hold. A lot of us have played football growing up in some form, whether it's tackle or flag. We each have our own journeys, but the one thing that we have in common is that we're coaching in a male-prominated sport, and we are coaching in the OUA, which is some of the best athletes in Canada. So we're really excited about that. And like I say, I'm friends with all of them, so it's really great to connect. I know week 1 we're hosting U of T, so one of my great friends, Carly Manners, is there, and Coach Sarah as well. So 2 female coaches on U of T staff this year. So that'll be a great game, as well as Coach DA's return to U Waterloo. So definitely have that one marked on the calendar for sure.
Well, Coach, amongst all of the amazing things you bring to the game of football on and off the field, you set up the narratives of these games perfectly. So when you hang up the clipboards and the cleats, if you want to be joining the media circle with us, you have a talent for that as well, my friend. Coach MacIntyre, thank you so much for joining us, talking about the new experience you're having going to Waterloo and all the amazing work that you've been doing to not only improve the game of football, but to set a bar for generations to come as far as women involved in the sport of football. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks so much for having me. It was a great opportunity, guys, and let's go black and gold.
I love it.
Brilliant. Well, that'll wrap this interview up. Me and Tom will have some more content coming your way, as well as the top 100 coming out this summer, leading up to the 2024-5 OUA season. So we'll be talking to you real soon, right here at the 55.